Chosen one. Something just shifted in the unseen realm. A file with your name on it was just opened in heaven's court. Not for judgment, for announcement. See, while you were fighting to survive your hardest season, heaven was grading you on a scale you couldn't see. Every morning you got up when staying down made more sense, recorded. Every tear you cried that felt invisible, counted. Every moment you chose not to quit, even though quitting seemed logical, scored. And here's what makes this different from any test you've ever taken. The students who KNEW they were being tested, most of them failed, because knowing makes you perform, and performance brings ego, and ego corrupts the results. But you had no idea you were in the exam room. You were just trying to breathe, to survive one more day, to not curse God when everything in you wanted to, and that unconscious faithfulness. That's exactly what heaven was measuring. The test wasn't announced. The scoreboard was silent. The finish line was invisible. 99% quit before they even realized there was a race. But you crossed a line you didn't know existed. And 3 days ago, the results came in. God just pulled back the veil and showed me your final grade. And, chosen one, I need you to receive this. Excellent, not good effort, not you tried. Excellent. Perfect scores across every category heaven was measuring. You passed God's hardest test, unknowingly. And that's precisely why you passed. Now, the question isn't whether you passed. That's already sealed in heaven's records. The question is, are you ready to see what you passed? Why it was so hard? And what you're now qualified for that you weren't before? Because this isn't just a pat on the back. This is a regrade of your entire story. What you called your worst year. Heaven's filing it as your final exam. What you called your breakdown. Heaven's cataloging it as your breakthrough. What felt like wandering in the dark. Heaven's recording it as running the race blindfolded and still finishing first. The celebration already happened in heaven 3 weeks ago. Angels stood. The cloud of witnesses applauded. Jesus himself smiled. But you were too exhausted to feel it. Too broken to hear it. So he sent me here today to throw the ceremony again. This time, you're awake for it. This is your delayed award announcement. Your retroactive victory lap, your official transcript reading. And every single line says the same thing. Excellent. Subscribe if your spirit is already recognizing this is a divine appointment, not a random click. Like if something in you knows this word is for you, even if your mind wants to doubt it. And comment excellent to seal this truth in your consciousness, because what you declare out loud, your soul begins to believe. Now let me tell you about the test you didn't know you were taking. You remember that season, don't you? The one where everything fell apart at once. The job situation went sideways, the relationship crumbled, the money dried up, your health took a hit you weren't expecting, and in your mind you were screaming, "What is happening? Why is this all hitting at once?" There was a voice in your head, the one you don't tell people about, that kept saying, "Did I do something wrong? Is God punishing me? Did I miss a turn somewhere?" You were sitting on the edge of your bed at 3 in the morning, feet on the cold floor, phone in your hand, scrolling through messages from people who had no idea what you were carrying. Your chest was so tight you thought you were having a heart attack. Your shoulders were up by your ears. They'd been there for weeks. You couldn't remember the last time you took a full breath without that weight pressing down. And that thought kept circling. I can't do this anymore. I don't have the strength. Chosen one, that moment, that was the test. Not a test of your strength. Because you were right. You didn't have strength left. It was a test of something deeper. See, most people think God tests our abilities, how much we can lift, how much we can carry, how much we can endure. But that's not what this test measured. This test measured your heart direction under crushing pressure. Let me say that again, because this is the key to understanding why you passed. The test wasn't, can you survive the fire? The test was, can you keep your heart aimed at me while you're burning? And here's the twist that nobody saw coming. The 99% who failed, they failed because they were strong. They had reserves, they had backup plans, they had strength to keep going. So when the pressure came, they leaned on their strength, they trusted their abilities, they relied on what they could control, and God watched them pass the surface test. Yes, they survived, but failed the real test, because their hearts turned inward, towards self, toward their own power. But you had nothing left, no strength, no plan B, no reserves. So when the pressure came, you had only one option: fall on God or fall apart. And every single morning, even the mornings you don't remember, you chose to fall on Him. Even when it felt like falling on air, even when it felt like He wasn't there, your heart stayed aim, weak, broken, barely functioning, but aim. And that's what 99% can't do, because it takes more faith to stay aimed when you're empty than it does to stay aimed when you're full. James chapter 1 verse 12 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial." But here's what gets lost in English. The word perseveres in the original Greek is hupomeno. It's not one word, it's two words smashed together. Hupo means under. Meno means to remain. So the verse isn't saying, blessed is the one who gets through the trial real fast. It's saying, blessed is the one who remains under the pressure without crumbling. You didn't escape the fire quickly, chosen one. You stayed in it for months, and you didn't melt. Your shape didn't change. Your heart direction didn't shift. That's why you passed. You remained under pressure, and your core stayed solid. Now, let me show you the 5 elimination rounds that took out the 99%, because you need to understand just how raw what you did actually is. Round 1 happened in the first 2 weeks. This is where 40% quit. The pressure hit. And their first response was, let me fix this myself. Let me control this. Let me find a way out. And when their fixes didn't work, when their control slipped, when there was no way out, they quit. Not always physically, but their hearts quit. They said, God, you're not moving fast enough. I'm taking this back. But you didn't have the luxury of fixing it. You were too broken to even try. So you stayed put. And you passed round 1 without even knowing there was a round 1. Round 2 happened between weeks 3 and 6. This is where 30% quit. This is the isolation round, where God goes quiet, where prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling, where every friend who said they'd be there slowly disappears. And the voice starts, if God really cared, He wouldn't leave you like this. If you were really chosen, He'd answer by now. And 30% believe that voice. They walk away, not from faith always, but from trust. But you kept whispering into the silence, even when there was no answer, even when it felt pointless. You passed round 2. Round 3 happened around the 2-month mark. This is where 73% of the remaining people quit. This is the round where your body starts breaking down, where the stress becomes physical, where you can't sleep, can't eat, can't function. And the voice says, this is too much. A good God wouldn't let this go on this long. You need to protect yourself. You need to walk away. 73% listen. They prioritize survival over surrender. But you kept showing up. Even when your body was screaming at you to stop. You passed round 3. Round 4 is where it gets cruel. This happened around month 3 or 4 for most people. This is where God gives you a glimpse of breakthrough. Just enough hope to keep breathing, and then the door slams shut again, and the enemy whispers, "See, you got your hopes up and God let you down." Again. How many times will you fall for this? 87% of those still standing, they quit here. Because hope deferred makes the heart sick, and they couldn't take another disappointment. But you held that tiny flicker of hope like it was oxygen, and you kept breathing. You passed round 4. And round 5? Round 5 is where only the 1% survive. This is the round where God asks you to bless the people who hurt you, to pray for the ones who abandoned you, to stay kind when bitterness would be justified. And 99.9% say, "That's too much, God. I'll stay faithful to you, but don't ask me to love them." But you, somehow, by some miracle you still can't explain, you found it in you to not curse them. Maybe you didn't bless them out loud. Maybe your prayers were through gritted teeth. But you didn't let bitterness turn your heart to stone. And that was the final question on the exam. Can you keep a soft heart in a hard season? You can. And you did. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 27 says, "God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise." But that's not a one-time thing. That's a pattern. Look at David, shepherd boy, youngest, forgotten, facing a giant that trained soldiers ran from, and he won. Look at Esther, orphan girl, no power, no status, facing a genocide plot, and she stopped it. Look at Gideon, hiding in a winepress, terrified, called to lead an army, and he delivered a nation. Look at Mary, unknown virgin, no credentials, chosen to carry the Messiah, and she said yes. Look at Peter, the one who denied Jesus 3 times, the failure. And Jesus made him the foundation of the church. You see the pattern? God's equation is this: your disqualification times his power equals impossible victory. The very thing that makes you feel unqualified, that's your invitation. You passed because you were weak, not in spite of it, because of it. Before I go further, I need you to understand what's coming in this message, because if you click away now, you'll miss the 3 things that will change everything. First, I'm going to show you the invisible scorecard, the 7 categories heaven was grading that you had no idea even existed. And when you see what you scored in each one, it's going to rewrite how you see every painful moment. Second, I'm going to reveal the attacks coming in the next 21 days, 7 specific attacks designed to steal what you just earned. I'll tell you exactly what they'll look like, so you're not blindsided. And third, at the end of this message, we're doing an activation ceremony, not a regular prayer. A commissioning where I seal everything you just learned and release you into what you're now qualified for. So don't leave. You didn't survive that season just to miss the ceremony. Stay with me. Now, let me show you heaven's grading system, because this is where it gets wild. See, the whole time you were taking this test, there was a scoreboard running in the background, invisible to you, visible to heaven. And it wasn't measuring what you thought it was measuring. You thought you were being graded on results. Did you get the job? Did the relationship work out? Did the money show up? But heaven wasn't watching your results. Heaven was watching your responses. Not what happened to you, but who you remained when it happened. Let me break this down. There's a scene in 1 Samuel chapter 16 that everybody misses. The prophet Samuel shows up to anoint the next king of Israel, and Jesse parades his sons in front of him. First son walks in, Eliab, tall, strong, handsome, impressive. And Samuel looks at him and thinks, this is obviously the one. Look at him. And God says, no, don't look at what people look at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Then the next son, then the next. 7 sons, all qualified on paper, and God says no to every single one. Finally, someone asks, do you have any other sons? And Jesse says, well, there's the youngest, but he's out with the sheep. He's not even at the meeting. He's not qualified. And God says, that one, bring him. David walks in. Shepherds smell on him. Overlooked, forgotten. And God says, anoint him. Here's what people miss. David didn't get chosen because he was at the meeting. He got chosen because his heart was right when nobody was watching. While his brothers were performing for the prophet, David was worshipping in the field with the sheep, where there was no audience, no applause, no reward, and God saw that. Chosen one, every person who overlooked you during your test, they were using Earth's scorecard. They saw your circumstances, your lack, your struggle, and they wrote you off. But God was using heaven's scorecard. He saw your heart worshipping in the field when nobody was watching. He saw you staying faithful when there was no audience. He saw you praising when there was no reason to praise. And he said, that one, anoint them. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. Paul is begging God to remove his thorn in the flesh, and God says, my grace is sufficient for you. Now in English, sufficient sounds like barely enough, like just scraping by. But the Greek word is archeo, and it doesn't mean barely enough. It means to be strong enough, to ward off, to be a fortress. God wasn't saying, my grace will barely cover your weakness. He was saying, my grace is a fortress around your weakness. It's strong enough to ward off every attack aimed at that weak spot. Your weakness wasn't barely covered, chosen one. It was weaponized. Every place you felt exposed, God turned it into a fortress. Every place you felt vulnerable, He stationed angels. You didn't pass in spite of your weakness. You passed because your weakness forced you to rely on a strength that wasn't yours. And that kind of reliance, that's what heaven calls excellent. So here's where we are. You now know you were being tested without knowing it. You now know the 5 rounds that eliminated 99%. You now know heaven's grading scale is opposite of Earth's. But I haven't told you what award you just won. I haven't told you the 7 categories you scored perfect in. And I haven't told you what door just opened that was locked before you passed. That's coming in the next part of this message. But before we go there, let this sink in. You are not who you were before that season. You are tested. You are approved. You are qualified. And what comes next will prove it. The first award you won, and I'm going to read this to you exactly as it's written in heaven's records, is for excellence in isolation. But before I give you the full citation, there's something we need to address, because I can feel it right now. Even as you're hearing these words, there's a part of you that's resisting, a voice in the back of your mind saying, This sounds good. But what if it's not real? What if I'm just getting my hopes up again? What if this is just another message that fades by tomorrow, and there's something deeper under that? A fear you haven't told anyone, a secret terror that wakes you up at night. What if you do get the blessing and you're still not happy? What if God does open the door and you walk through it and mess it up? What if you're not actually chosen and this whole thing is just your mind trying to cope with pain by creating a narrative that makes you feel special? There it is, the ugly truth. The thought that makes you feel like a fraud for even watching this video. And chosen one, I need you to know something. God already knows you think that. He's not shocked. He's not disappointed. He's actually relieved you finally let it surface. Because what you're feeling right now, that tightness in your chest, that resistance, that's not unbelief. That's wisdom disguised as fear. Let me explain. Every time good news has gotten close to you in the past, what happened? Your throat tightened, your chest closed up, you found reasons to delay, to wait, to make sure. Your body was trying to protect you from disappointment. Because you've been disappointed before. You've believed before. You've hoped before. And it hurt when it didn't happen. So your nervous system learned, don't let her get her hopes up. Don't let him believe too fast. Build walls. Stay safe. And that's what's happening right now. Your body is doing what it's been trained to do. Protect you. But here's the truth that's going to set you free. That fear you're feeling, it's not evidence that you're not ready. It's evidence that you are. Let me show you why. Joshua chapter 1 verse 9. God is commissioning Joshua to lead Israel into the promised land. And he says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." And everyone quotes that verse like it's a motivational poster. Be strong. Be courageous. You got this. But look at when God said it. Moses just died. The greatest leader Israel ever had. Gone. Joshua is standing there looking at 2 million people who are now his responsibility. Across the river is the promised land, and in that land, giants, fortified cities, armies that have never lost. And God doesn't say, "Don't worry, it'll be easy." He says, "I know you're terrified. Be courageous anyway." That's not, "You can do it, champ." That's, "I know you're shaking. Do it while you're shaking." Your fear doesn't disqualify you, chosen one. It authenticates you. Because fearless people are reckless. They don't understand the weight of what they're carrying. But faithful people, they're trembling. They understand exactly how big this is, how unqualified they are, how much could go wrong, and they say yes anyway. So if you're feeling that fear right now, that terror that this might not be real, that you might mess it up, that you're not enough good, that means you're taking this seriously. That means you understand the weight. That means you're ready. Because God doesn't give assignments to people who think they can handle them. He gives them to people who know they can't and trust Him anyway. Now, back to your award. The citation reads as follows. To the chosen one, for excellence in isolation. Period of testing, 8 months, 4 days. Isolation level, extreme. You remember those nights, don't you? It's 11 p.m. You're in bed. The lights are off. Your phone is face down on the nightstand. Not because you're being disciplined about screen time, because you already checked it 47 times today and nobody texted. The ceiling fan goes round and round. You've counted the rotations. You know exactly how many times it spins before you lose count and have to start over. You reach for your phone one more time. You tell yourself you're just checking the time, but your thumb goes straight to your messages. You scroll through the names. You start typing a text to someone. Anyone. Hey, how are you? Your thumb hovers over send, and then you delete it because you already reached out twice this week, and they were short. And you don't want to be that person, the needy one, the one who can't handle being alone, so you lock your phone. You put it back down. You roll over. You pull the blanket over your head. And in that darkness, you whisper something you've whispered 100 times. God, are you even there? No answer. Just the sound of the ceiling fan. Just the silence pressing down like a weight on your chest. So you whisper it again, quieter this time, almost like you're testing to see if he'll prove you wrong. If you're there, I'm still here. Chosen one. Do you know what happened in that moment? Heaven's court erupted. Angels who had been watching you for 8 months stood to their feet. The cloud of witnesses. Every saint who walked through their own isolation. They started clapping, and Jesus looked at the Father and said, "Did you hear that? Did you hear what they just said? If you're there, I'm still here." That sentence, that got recorded in heaven's archives as the purest form of faith. Not, "God, if you're there, prove it." Not, "God, if you're there, I need a sign." But if you're there, and I'm not even sure anymore, I'm still here, I'm still showing up, I'm still choosing to believe even when I can't feel you. That's not do-it, chosen one. That's devotion. And heaven graded it. Excellent. Psalm 68 verse 6 says, God sets the lonely in families, but that's not the whole story. Let me show you the pattern. Joseph, sold into slavery, thrown in prison, alone for 13 years, no family, no friends, no rescue, and then second in command of Egypt, leading a nation through famine, influence beyond measure, Moses, murder, exile, desert, 40 years of isolation, tending sheep, and then deliverer of Israel, face to face with God, influence, millions. Elijah, after the showdown on Mount Carmel, he runs, hides in a cave, suicidal, alone, and then mentors Elisha, calls down fire, influence, generations. Jesus, wilderness, 40 days, tempted, alone, hungry, and then 3 years of ministry that changed history. Influence, eternal. Paul, 3 years in Arabia. Nobody knows what happened there, just silence, isolation, and then apostle to the nations. Influence, half the New Testament. You see the formula? Isolation, duration, times faithful endurance equals influence radius. The longer the isolation, the deeper the faithfulness, the wider the influence. You weren't in isolation because God forgot you, chosen one. You were in isolation because he was preparing you for an influence radius you can't even imagine yet. Your 8 months of loneliness weren't wasted. They were incubation, and what's about to be born from that season will reach people who couldn't be reached any other way, because only someone who survived that level of isolation can speak to someone currently in it. Your testimony is your territory, and your territory just got expanded. Now let me show you something you missed. Let me show you the 7 moments from your past year that you thought were ordinary, but Heaven recorded as extraordinary. Imagine you're sitting in a movie theater. The lights go down. The screen flickers on. Title appears. The Chosen One. Season finale. Director's cut. This is your highlight reel. The one you've never seen. Scene 1. You're at the kitchen sink. Sunday afternoon. Washing dishes. Nobody's home. The house is quiet. Too quiet. Your hands are in the soapy water, and tears are rolling down your face. You don't even know why you're crying anymore. You just are. Drip, 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 mixing with the soap suds. But your hands, they keep moving. Wash the plate. Rinse it. Put it in the rack. Wash the cup. Rinse it. Stack it. Your body is on autopilot. Functioning despite the breakdown. Freeze frame. Zoom in on your hands. Heaven's commentator speaks. Look at that. The hands don't stop. The body stays in motion even when the heart is shattered. This is called functional fortitude. Only 1% can do this. Instant replay in slow motion. Watch as the tears fall. Watch as the hands keep working. That's not weakness, chosen one. That's strength you didn't know you had. Scene 2. You're in your car. Parking lot outside work. You're 15 minutes early, but you can't go in yet. Your hands are gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white. You're staring at the building through the windshield, watching people walk in. Normal people. People who aren't carrying what you're carrying. You take a breath. It shudders on the way out. You check your face in the rearview mirror. You wipe the corner of your eye before the tear can fall. You practice your smile, the one you'll wear when you walk through those doors. And then you get out. You grab your bag. You lock the car, and you walk toward that building like you're walking into battle. Slow motion replay. Watch the transition. Watch the mask go on. Watch the shoulders go back. Heaven's voice. This is courage. Not the absence of fear, but functioning in the presence of it. Excellent. Scene 3. 2 a.m. You're in the bathroom, door locked, sitting on the floor with your back against the tub. You came in here so nobody would hear you. Your chest is heaving. You're gasping for air. Panic attack. The 4th one this month. And in your mind, you're screaming, I can't do this anymore. I don't have the strength. I'm going to break. But out loud, you're whispering a prayer through your teeth. Help me. Just help me get through tonight. Just tonight. I'll deal with tomorrow when it comes. Freeze frame. Close up on your face. Tears. Snot. Raw. Heaven's annotation. Honest worship. No performance. No pretense. Just a broken human being choosing to cry out to God instead of cursing him. Score. 100 out of 100. I could show you 4 more scenes, but you get the point. Every moment you thought was you falling apart, heaven recorded as you holding together. Every moment you thought was weakness, heaven scored as strength. Every moment you thought nobody saw, recorded, catalogued, graded, and every single one came back. Excellent. Now here's what you need to understand. I know someone who had a highlight reel just like yours. 9 moments over 14 months. Moments they thought were ordinary. Breakdown moments. Failure moments. But when God showed them the replay, when they saw what heaven saw, everything changed. They stopped apologizing for their story. They stopped hiding their scars, and they started sharing what they survived. And today, they're leading a movement of over 100,000 people, not because they're special, but because they were willing to let people see the real highlight reel, not the Instagram version, the heaven version, the version where you're crying at the kitchen sink and still washing dishes, the version where you're having a panic attack in the bathroom and still whispering prayers. That's the version people need to see, because somebody out there is at their kitchen sink right now, crying while they wash dishes, wondering if they're the only one. And your testimony is going to be the voice that says, "You're not alone. I was there, and I made it out. And you will too." Zechariah chapter 4 verse 10. Who dares despise the day of small things? Context. They're rebuilding the temple, and everyone's discouraged, because this new temple is tiny compared to Solomon's temple. The old people who remembered the first temple, they're weeping, because this one looks so small, so insignificant. And God says through the prophet, don't despise small. The Hebrew word for small there is qatan, and it doesn't mean size, it means perceived value. God is saying, don't despise what looks insignificant to human eyes, because I'm not measuring by size, I'm measuring by faithfulness. Your small acts, they're massive in heaven's economy. Washing dishes through tears, massive. Showing up to work while grieving, massive. Whispering prayers during panic attacks, massive. The world measures by visibility. Heaven measures by obedience. And you've been obedient in the small things, the hidden things, the things nobody saw. And Matthew chapter 25 verse 21, Jesus says, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things." The Greek word for faithful there is pistos. It means trustworthy in small things before big things. It's not about big achievements. It's about consistent character when nobody's watching. You washing dishes through tears, pistos. You showing up to work while your world is crumbling, pistos. You choosing kidness when bitter was easier, pistos. And God just looked at your file and wrote, faithful in the small, ready for the large. Now, I need to tell you something that's going to reframe everything I just said. Everything I just showed you, the isolation, the award, the highlight reel, all of that, that was test number 1. You passed it. Perfectly. Excellent rating across the board. But what I didn't tell you, what I couldn't tell you until now, is that there were 2 more tests running simultaneously. Tests you had no idea about. And while 99% barely pass test 1, only 1% pass all 3 at the same time. And chosen one, you're in that 1%. Let me show you what you actually accomplished. Test number 1 was called the pressure test. That's the one I just showed you. The isolation, the financial strain, the health battles, the relational wounds. That was testing your body, your circumstances, your external world. Can you endure when everything outside you is falling apart? And you passed perfectly. But here's what nobody tells you about God's testing system. He doesn't test you one dimension at a time. He's not that linear. When he puts someone through the fire, he's not just testing if they can handle heat. He's testing if they can handle heat while blindfolded, while carrying weight, while being lied to about how much longer it'll last. And that's exactly what happened to you. While test 1 was crushing your circumstances, test 2 was running in the background. And test 2? Test 2 was testing something deeper, your mind. Test number 2 is called the perception test. And this is where it gets wild, because while your body was under pressure, your mind was being fed lies. The enemy wasn't just attacking your circumstances, he was attacking your interpretation of your circumstances. He was whispering, "This is happening because you did something wrong. This is happening because God is punishing you. This is happening because you're not actually chosen. This is happening because you missed your moment and now it's too late." And here's the test. Can you keep your perception aligned with truth when every feeling is screaming that the lies are real? Can you keep believing you're chosen when you feel forgotten? Can you keep believing God is good when your life looks like proof He's not? Can you keep believing there's a purpose when everything looks random? 99% fail this test, not because they stop believing in God, but because they start believing the enemy's version of God. They start believing God is there, but He's disappointed in me. He's there, but He's punishing me. He's there, but I've exhausted His patience. And once that perception shifts, they're done. They stay in faith, but they live in fear. But your mind was under assault for months. Every morning you woke up, the first thought was, why is this still happening? Every night you went to bed, the last thought was, what did I do wrong? The lies were relentless. But somewhere in you, some core part of you that you can't even explain, you kept saying, no, that's not true. You didn't say it with confidence. You said it through tears. You didn't say it with certainty. You said it as a question. God, I don't feel chosen. But your word says I am. So I'm going to believe your word over my feelings. And chosen one, that's a perfect score on test number 2. Job, chapter 23, verse 10. Job is in the middle of his nightmare season. Everything's gone. Kids dead. Wealth gone. Health destroyed. Wife telling him to curse God and die. And his friends, the people who should be comforting him, are sitting there telling him, this happened because you sinned. Confess what you did. And Job says this, but he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. Pause. Look at that sentence. Job doesn't say, when this trial is over. He says, when he has tested me. Job recognized he was being tested. But here's the key. He didn't know what the test was. He didn't know he was being watched by heaven and hell. He didn't know there was a cosmic wager on his faithfulness. He just knew, this feels like a test. So I'm going to act like gold acts in fire. I'm going to stay pure. And God looked at that and wrote in the margins, excellent, chosen one. You didn't know you were being tested, either, but you responded like someone who trusted the process, even when you couldn't see the purpose. And when the fire is over, you won't just come out alive. You'll come out as gold, refined, purified, valuable. Now, test number 3. This is the one that only 1% even encounter, because you can't get to test 3 unless you pass test 1 and 2 simultaneously. Test number 3 is called the purity test, and it's not testing your circumstances, not testing your mind. It's testing your heart, specifically your motivation. Why are you staying faithful? Are you staying faithful because you want the blessing? Are you staying faithful because you're trying to earn something? Are you staying faithful because you're afraid of what happens if you don't? Or are you staying faithful because you love Him, even if there's no reward, even if it costs you everything? This is the question God asked Abraham on Mount Moriah. Will you give me Isaac? Not because I need Isaac, but because I need to know. Is Isaac your God? Or am I? This is the question God asked Job. Will you curse me when I take everything? Not because I'm cruel, but because I need to know. Do you love me for my gifts or for me? And this is the question God asked you. In the middle of your worst season, when there was no sign of breakthrough, when the silence was deafening, when hope seemed stupid, will you still choose me? And here's the part that's going to wreck you. You don't remember choosing. You don't remember a moment where you made some heroic declaration, but you did choose. Every single day. The days you didn't feel him, but you still prayed. You chose. The days you wanted to quit, but you still showed up. You chose. The days you had every reason to walk away, but you didn't. You chose. You chose him when there was no applause, no reward, no evidence it was working. You chose him because somewhere deeper than logic, deeper than feeling, deeper than circumstance, you loved him. And that love? That's what test 3 measures. And you, chosen one, scored perfectly. 100 out of 100 in all 3 tests at the same time, while you didn't even know you were being tested. Now here's the question you're probably asking in your mind right now. Wait. If knowing you're being tested makes you fail, then why are you telling me now? Good question. Because the tests are over. You can't pass them by knowing about them now. The results are already sealed. And now you need to know what you passed so you can walk in what you just qualified for. Because there's a door that just opened. A door that was locked 3 months ago. And you can't walk through a door you don't know exists. So let me show you what door just opened. But first, I need to show you something about yourself that you've been blind to your whole life. You have weaknesses. You know you do. Things about yourself you hate. Things you've tried to fix for years. Things you've prayed for God to remove, and he hasn't. And you've wondered, why? If you're so chosen, why won't he fix this? Let me tell you why. Because it's not broken. In your mind, right now, think of the one thing you're most insecure about. The thing you hope nobody notices. The thing you'd fix with a magic wand if you could. Got it? Good. Now let me tell you what heaven calls that thing. They don't call it a flaw. They call it your delivery system. Let me explain. You think you're too sensitive, right? You cry at commercials. You feel everything. Someone raises their voice and your eyes start burning with tears, and you hate that about yourself. You've said, God, why did you make me so emotional? Why can't I be strong like other people? Here's what you don't know. That sensitivity, that's not weakness. That's a sonar system. You feel shifts in the atmosphere before they manifest in the physical. You detect pain in people before they even show it. You sense danger before it arrives. That's not a flaw, chosen one. That's prophetic sensitivity. And the reason God won't remove it is because your assignment requires it. You're going to walk into rooms and feel the weight people are carrying, and you're going to know how to pray. You're going to know what to say. You're going to heal before the wound festers. And that gift? It only works if you're sensitive. If God made you tough, you'd be effective, but you'd miss people, so he left you soft, on purpose. You think you overthink everything, right? Every decision takes you forever. You analyze from every angle. You see problems before they happen. You can't just do something. You have to think through every possible outcome. And people have told you, you think too much. Just make a decision. Stop being so anxious. Here's what they don't understand. That's not anxiety. That's strategic discernment. God gave you a mind that sees patterns, that predicts outcomes, that runs simulations. You're not overthinking. You're running reconnaissance. And the assignments coming your way are going to require that. You're going to have to make decisions that affect hundreds of people. And that gift of seeing 10 steps ahead, that's going to save lives. So stop calling it anxiety. Start calling it what it is, divine strategy. You think you give too much, right? You're always the one helping, always the one sacrificing, always putting everyone else first. And you've been burned. People have taken advantage, and you said, I need to set boundaries. I need to stop being such a people pleaser. Wrong. That's not people pleasing. That's kingdom abundance mindset. You give because you believe there's more where that came from. You give because you trust God to replenish. You give because you'd rather be generous and get hurt than stingy and safe. And chosen one, that's rare. Most people give from their surplus. You give from your seed. And the kingdom doesn't run on surplus. It runs on seed. So the reason God won't let you stop giving is because He's about to multiply everything you planted. And when that harvest comes in, you're going to be so glad you didn't let bitterness make you stingy. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10. Paul says, when I am weak, then I am strong. And people read that and think it's poetic, a nice metaphor. No, it's mechanics. The Greek word for strong there is dunatos. It means explosive power, dynamite power. Paul is saying, my weakness becomes the detonation point for God's dynamite. When I'm obviously weak, God gets undeniable credit. Your sensitivity doesn't limit God's power. It amplifies it. Because when you're crying and still conquering, people can't say you did it. They have to say God did it. Your overthinking doesn't block God's strategy. It channels it. Because when you've analyzed every option and still choose the illogical one, God said, that's faith. Your overgiving doesn't drain God's supply. It activates it. Because the kingdom runs on seed time and harvest, and you've been planting when everyone else was hoarding. You want to know why God chooses weak vessels? Let me show you. Judges, chapter 7. Gideon's army. 32,000 men show up to fight, and God says, too many. Send some home. So Gideon sends home everyone who's afraid. 22,000 leave. 10,000 left. And God says, still too many. So he has them drink from the river. And everyone who gets on their knees to drink, sent home. Only 300 left. 300 out of 32,000. And Gideon is standing there like, God, are you serious? We're about to fight an army of thousands with 300. And God says in verse 2, lest Israel boast that their own hand has saved them. Read that again. God strategically chooses weak vessels, so there's no question who won. Your inadequacy isn't an accident, chosen one. It's strategy. God looked at you and said, this one can't do it on their own. Perfect. When I do it through them, I get all the glory. And that's not insulting. That's invitation. You get to partner with a God who does impossible things through unqualified people. So, here's where we are. You passed 3 tests simultaneously, unconsciously, and in passing them, you just unlocked a level of assignment you weren't cleared for before. But here's the problem. The enemy knows what you just unlocked, and in the next 21 days, He's going to launch 7 specific attacks designed to steal what you just earned. I'm going to tell you exactly what those attacks will look like when they'll hit, and how to counter them. But before I do, I need you to do something. In your mind, not out loud, I want you to think of one weakness you've been ashamed of, the thing you've been trying to hide, the thing you thought disqualified you. Now, imagine Jesus standing in front of you, and he reaches out his hand, and he says, "Give me that." And you hand it to him, and he doesn't throw it away. He transforms it right in front of you and hands it back, and now it's glowing. And he says, "This was never a flaw. This is your weapon. Now go use it." If you want to seal that transformation, comment one word below, the weakness you're turning into a weapon, just one word, sensitivity, overthinking, fear, whatever it is. Because when you name it in public, you're declaring, "I'm not ashamed anymore. This is part of my design." Now, let me tell you about the 7 attacks coming your way. The first attack will hit you within 24 to 48 hours. I'm not guessing. This is the pattern. This is how the enemy operates. The moment you receive revelation, he launches doubt. It's called the immediate doubt bomb. And here's exactly what it will look like. You're going to finish this video. You're going to feel fire in your chest. You're going to feel hope for the first time in months. And then, maybe an hour later, maybe tomorrow morning, this thought is going to slide into your mind. That was a nice message, but does it really apply to me? I mean, he doesn't know me. Maybe I'm the exception. Maybe I didn't actually pass. Or it'll come through a well-meaning friend, someone who cares about you. And they'll say, "I'm happy you feel encouraged, but just be careful. Don't get your hopes up too high. I don't want you to be disappointed again." Or it'll come at 2 in the morning. You'll wake up, and the feeling will be gone. And you'll think, "See, it faded. It always does." That proves it wasn't real. Here's why this attack works. Because the enemy knows he can't stop the word from being planted. The seed is already in the ground. But if he can get you to dig it up in the first 48 hours, it never takes root. So he doesn't argue with the message. He argues with your qualification to receive it. Here are the warning signs. Phrases like, "Was that real?" Or, "I'm just being emotional." Or, "This doesn't feel true anymore." If you hear those phrases in your head in the next 2 days, you're under attack. And here's how you win. Don't analyze it. The moment you start analyzing whether it was real, you've already stepped into the trap, because faith doesn't survive analysis. Faith survives obedience. So instead of asking, "Was that real?" ask, "What's the next step God showed me?" And do that step before the feeling fades. Analysis equals paralysis. Obedience equals activation. Attack number 2 hits between day 3 and day 7. This one's more insidious because it comes through people who love you. It's called the sympathy sabotage. Your closest people are going to start protecting you from disappointment. They're going to say things like, "I just want you to be realistic. I don't want to see you hurt again." Or, "I'm not saying don't hope. I'm just saying don't put all your eggs in one basket." Or, "What if it doesn't happen? What's your backup plan?" And it's going to sound like wisdom. It's going to sound like love. But here's what's really happening. They're comfortable with you at your current level. They've adjusted to this version of you. And if you level up, they have to deal with their own stagnation. It's called crab bucket mentality. When one crab tries to climb OUT, the others pull it back down, not because they're evil, because they're comfortable. The warning signs for this attack. Someone says, "I'm just being realistic," or "I'm trying to protect you," or "I don't want you getting your hopes up." When you hear those phrases, know this: that's not wisdom, that's fear. And here's the counter strategy. Thank them, love them, and ignore them. You can receive their concern without obeying their advice. Say, "I appreciate you caring, I really do. But I have to follow what God showed me, not what makes sensey." And then do it anyway. Love doesn't mean obey. Love means honor them while you obey God. Attack number 3. This is the deadliest. It hits between day 7 and day 14. It's called the counterfeit opportunity, and 90% of people fall for this one. Here's how it works. An opportunity is going to show up. A good opportunity. Something that makes logical sense. It's going to be close to what God promised. But not exactly. It's going to feel like, well, maybe this is how God is answering, and you're going to be tempted to take it. Because it's here. It's now. It's real. But when you pray about it, your spirit feels flat. There's no fire, no leap. Just logic saying, "This makes sense." Here's why this attack is so effective. Because the enemy knows he can't give you nothing. You'd recognize that as attack. So he gives you something good, something almost right. And if you take the almost, you miss the exact, the warning signs. It makes logical sense, but your spirit feels nothing. Everyone around you is saying, "This is smart, take it." But when you pray, there's no peace. Counter strategy. If there's no fire, it's not your altar. God's assignments come with confirmation in your spirit, not just logic in your mind. So when the counterfeit shows up, say, "Thank you, but I'm waiting for the exact thing God promised, not the close thing the world offers." And wait, even if it feels stupid. Even if people think you're crazy, wait for the fire. Attack number 4 hits between day 10 and day 16. This one's cruel because it twists something good into something painful. It's called isolation amplification. Here's what happens. You just got revelation that you're chosen, that you passed, that you're qualified, and you'd think that would make you feel connected. But instead, you're going to feel more alone than you did before. Because now you're aware of the gap between where you are and where people think you are. You're carrying revelation that nobody around you understands. And the enemy whispers, "See, you're more isolated now than you were in your test. At least then you had an excuse. Now you're just weird." The warning signs. Thoughts like, "Nobody gets me," or "I'm more alone now than I was before," or "Maybe I'm supposed to just be normal and stop all this spiritual stuff." Here's the counter strategy. Separation is not our rejection. It's preparation. Eagles fly alone, not because they're antisocial, but because they fly at an altitude where chickens can't breathe. You're being separated for next level. And that separation will feel like loneliness until you realize its distinction. You're not being ejected by people. You're being repositioned by God. Stop trying to make people understand. They will when it manifests. Until then, fly alone. Attack number 5 happens between day 14 and day 18. And this one will blindside you if you're not ready. It's called the past resurrection. Old shame you thought was healed, it's going to come roaring back. Memories you buried years ago, they're going to surface with force. That thing you did that you've repented for 1,000 times, you're going to feel the guilt like it happened yesterday. And the enemy is going to say, you think you passed God's test. Look at what you did. Look at who you were. You think you're qualified. You're a fraud. Here's what's really happening. The enemy is filing objections in heaven's court. He's saying, Your Honor, I object to this promotion. They're not worthy. Look at the evidence. And he's resurrecting your past as Exhibit A, the warning signs. Memories that randomly pop up with intense shame attached. Dreams about past failures. Thoughts like, who am I kidding? I'm not chosen. Look at what I've done. Here's the counter. The fact that your past is fighting this hard is proof it's afraid of your future. If your past had power over you, it wouldn't need to fight. It would just sit there and you'd stay stuck. But it's scrambling. It's attacking. It's trying to disqualify you, which means your future is so bright that your past is terrified. So when the shame hits, don't engage it. Don't argue with it. Don't try to prove you're worthy. Just say, that's been covered by the blood. Next. And move forward. Attack number 6 hits between day 17 and day 20. This one doesn't look like an attack. It looks like exhaustion. It's called the energy crash. You're going to wake up one morning and you cannot get out of bed. Not because you're sick. Your body just feels heavy. Everything feels like it takes twice the effort it should. You'll think, what's wrong with me? I just got all this revelation. I should feel energized. Instead, I feel drained. And the enemy whispers, see, you're too tired for this assignment. You don't have what it takes. You should just rest and forget all this. Here's what's actually happening. Your spirit just downloaded new capacity, and your body is adjusting to carry it. It's like going to the GYM. You lift heavy, and the next day, you're sore. That soreness isn't weakness, it's growth. Your spirit just lifted heavy revelation, and your body is catching up. The warning signs, thoughts like, I'm too tired, or I can't do this, or maybe I'm not strong enough. Counter strategy. This isn't depletion, it's expansion. Your capacity just increased, and increase always comes with adjustment. So rest, but don't quit. Sleep more, move slower, but keep moving, because quitting during the adjustment phase means you never get to operate at the new capacity. And attack number 7. This one hits right around day 21. It's the most subtle and the most dangerous. It's called the false summit. A small breakthrough is going to happen, something good, something real. And you're going to feel relief, and the enemy is going to whisper, this is it. This is what God promised. Be grateful for this. Don't be greedy and expect more. And you'll think, you know what? This is good. Maybe I should just be content with this. And you'll settle right before the full manifestation was about to hit. The warning signs, thoughts like, this is enough, or I should be grateful for this, or maybe I was expecting too much. If you feel satisfied with less than what God promised, you're under attack. Here's the counter. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. You can be thankful for the appetizer and still expect the feast. God doesn't give you part of the promise and expect you to call it full. He gives you glimpses to build your faith, not to satisfy your hunger. So, when the small breakthrough comes, say, "Thank you for the down payment. Now I'm expecting the full amount." And don't you dare settle for less than what he showed you. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Now, most people read that and think, the devil is hunting me. But look at the word prowls. In Greek, it's peripateo. It means to walk around in circles, to pace. Lions don't just attack randomly. They pace, they study, they look for the weak moment. Not the weak person, the weak moment. You're not weak, chosen one, but you will have weak moments. And the 7 attacks I just showed you, those are the packing patterns. Those are the moments he's going to strike. But here's the difference between you and 99%. They get ambushed because they don't see it coming. You just got the playbook. You know when he'll strike. You know how he'll strike. You know what he'll say. Which means you can't be ambushed. You're ready. Now, let me read you your official transcript, because after everything you just learned, the 3 tests, the attacks, the weapons, you need to hear what heaven's official records say about you. This is not metaphor. This is not encouragement. This is your actual grade. The scroll is unrolled. The court is silent. The father leans forward. His eyes scan the document. A smile breaks across his face. The kind of smile a parent has when their child does something extraordinary without realizing it. He looks up. He looks at you, and he begins to read. Chosen one, in the examination period of your hardest season, Category 1, faithfulness under fire, score 100 out of 100. Heaven's notes, subject maintained forward motion despite system failure on all fronts. Did not retreat. Did not freeze. Continued daily acts of obedience with 0 visible reward. This level of blind faith is Ra, excellent. Category 2, heart purity in bitterness, score 100 out of 100. Heaven's notes, subject had every reason to become bitter, watched others prosper while suffering, yet chose blessing over cursing, refused to curse those who hurt them, prayed for enemies. This is Christ-level response, excellent. Category 3, stewardship of silence, score 100 out of 100. Heaven's notes, subject entered extended silence from heaven, no clear direction, no audible voice, yet trusted previous word and did not panic, did not seek counterfeit voices, waited with active patience. This is maturity, excellent. Category 4, identity, stability in chaos, score 100 out of 100. Heaven's notes, subject's circumstances screamed you are worthless. Subject's feelings screamed you are forgotten. Yet subject's confession remained, I am chosen, did not derive identity from current state, but from divine decree. This is unshakable foundation. Excellent. Category 5, generosity in poverty, score 100 out of 100. Heaven's notes, subject had barely enough yet still gave, shared last meal, gave time when had none, gave encouragement while needing it most. This is widow's mite principle in action. Heaven takes note. Excellent. Category 6, joy as warfare, score 100 out of 100. Heaven's notes, subject chose joy as an act of war against depression, praised when everything said to panic, danced when logic said to despair. This is weapon-level worship. Demons fled this praise. Excellent. Category 7. Hiddenness without bitterness. Score: 100 out of 100. Heaven's notes: subject remained faithful while hidden, watched others get promoted while they stayed planted, did not resent obscurity, used hidden season to go deeper. This is preparation, not punishment. Subject understood. Excellent. Overall assessment. Final grade. Excellent. Subject has passed all testing phases. Qualified for next level assignment. Authorized for double portion release. Approved for accelerated breakthrough. Recommended for Joshua Generation Leadership. Signed, the Ancient of Days. Witnessed by the cloud of witnesses. Sealed by the Holy Spirit. Date: this exact moment. Matthew chapter 25 verse 23. The Master says to the faithful servant, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." This is said to the servants who multiplied their talents while the master was away. Keyword: away. They worked without supervision, without immediate reward. They were faithful when nobody was watching. That's you. You've been faithful while God seemed away. Now, He's back and He's saying, "Well done." But here's what people miss in this verse. The next part: come and share your master's happiness. You don't just get a reward. You get invited into his joy. That's not a transaction, chosen one. That's relationship. You just got invited to share God's happiness. Not because you earned it, but because you were faithful. So here's where we stand. You know your grade. Excellent across all 7 categories. You know the attacks coming. All 7 with counter strategies. But knowing you pass it isn't enough. You need to know how to walk as someone who passed. Because there's a posture. A way of moving. A way of thinking. And if you don't step into that posture, you'll have the qualification, but not you ease it. So in the final part of this message, I'm going to give you the 5-stage victory lap protocol. This is how you walk out of the testing ground and into your assignment, day by day, step by step. And then we're going to seal all of this in a commissioning prayer that will activate everything you just learned. Here's how you walk as someone who passed. The first 3 days, private acknowledgement. Process this alone before telling anyone. Mark today's date in your mind. Say internally, "Today I found out I passed." Lock in 3 pieces of evidence from your season. Don't post it. Let it root. Days 4 through 7. Identity integration. Reprogram your self-talk. Stop saying "I'm trying to be faithful." Start saying "I am faithful, proven." Your words program your subconscious. Old friends will feel the shift. Let them. Days 8 through 14. Public embodiment. Walk differently. Shoulders back, head up. Eye contact. Not arrogance. Alignment. This will feel uncomfortable. That's your old identity protesting. Push through. Shrinking so others feel comfortable is not humility. Days 15 through 21. Testimony release. Now you can share, but not as "look at me," as "look at God." Say, "I didn't know I was being tested. I thought I was falling apart. Turns out I was being graded." Some will celebrate, some will criticize. Both prove you're in new level. Day 22 forward, assignment activation. Ask God, what am I qualified for now that I wasn't before? The answer will feel too big. That's how you know it's right. God doesn't call you to what you can do. He calls you to what only He can do through you. 2 Timothy 4:7. Paul writes from prison, about to die, and declares, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Past tense, completed. He measured success by faithfulness, not circumstances. You can be in a prison and declare victory if you stayed faithful, and you did. So declare it. I finished the race I didn't know I was running. Now, everything I told you is information. But information without activation is just knowledge. So, we're doing an activation ceremony. This is not a regular prayer, this is a commissioning, and I need you to participate. In your mind, see yourself standing, spine straight, head up, right hand over your heart, left hand raised, palm open, facing up. This posture means, I receive with one hand and give with my heart. Hold that posture while I pray. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, the name above all names, I stand in authority as a child of the Most High God. This moment is a divine appointment. The atmosphere where you are is shifting right now. Portals are opening. Heaven is leaning in. The cloud of witnesses is watching. Jesus is standing from his throne, looking at you, saying to the Father, this one passed, this one is mine, this one endured. Father God, I acknowledge what this chosen one walked through, the nights crying themselves to sleep, the mornings getting up when they didn't want to, the 3 a.m. panic, the unanswered questions, the betrayals, the financial pressure, the loneliness. They didn't quit, they didn't curse you, they stayed faithful. And that faithfulness was you holding them when they didn't know they were being held. Thank you for being their wall, their floor, their strength. And now I seal what has been downloaded. I seal the revelation that they passed the test. Excellent in every category. I seal the 3 tests, all passed simultaneously while unaware. I seal their weaknesses as weapons. Sensitivity is prophetic radar. Overthinking is strategic discernment. Overgiving is kingdom abundance. I seal the 5-stage victory lap protocol. Now I bind the 7 attacks coming. In Jesus' name, I bind the spirit of doubt, sympathy, sabotage, counterfeit opportunity, isolation, amplification, past resurrection, energy crash, and false summit. Bound, gagged, silenced, expelled. This chosen one is sealed by the blood, covered by the name, protected by the word. I decree open doors no man can shut. I decree favor unprecedented. I decree provision overflow. I decree clarity crystallized. I decree purpose activated, sealed in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, the season of testing is over. The season of testimony has begun. Within 7 days you will see the first sign, small but undeniable. Within 21 days, the second wave, provision that makes no sense, favor from nowhere, breakthrough where you'd given up. Within 90 days, you will look back and say, that was the turning point. Your testimony will be a weapon. Your story will be a roadmap. You are not just a survivor. You are a trailblazer. You are not just delivered. You are a deliverer. The mantle of Joshua is falling on you right now. I am calling you to leadership, to influence, to boldness. The days of hiding are over. The days of playing small are over. I am releasing double for your trouble, beauty for ashes, restoration of the years the locusts have eaten, exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think. It is done. It is decreed. It is established. Thus saith the Lord. Chosen one, I have one question. Will you carry this? Will you carry the weight of this calling? Will you refuse to go back to playing small? Will you stand in your identity even when people don't understand? Will you walk in your authority even when it feels uncomfortable? Answer out loud or in your mind right now. Say, yes, I will. Say it again with more conviction. Yes, I will. Heaven heard that. Your yes just activated angelic movement, demons scattered, destiny locked in. You are commissioned, you are sent, you are authorized, you are equipped. You are backed by the armies of heaven. You are not just a chosen one, you are a deployed one. Act like it, walk like it, talk like it, live like it. I release you from the wilderness. You are dismissed from the season of testing. You are dismissed from the place of waiting. Step out, step up, step into what God has prepared. Go with the confidence of someone who passed. Go with the authority of someone tested and approved. Go with the expectation of someone who has heaven's backing. Don't say amen yet. Sit in this silence for 10 seconds. Let it soak in. Let your spirit absorb what just happened. Now, when you're ready, not when I say, when you're ready, say amen. And when you say it, mean it. Let it be a roar, not a whisper. A declaration that you received, that you believe, that you're ready.